Peds podcast. It's Mike Lensing here with my co-host Jason
I'm
Songel
back,
tonight.
baby. I'm back, baby.
It's been a while, man. It's been a while since you've made an appearance. I was thinking the other day for my interview episodes on Wednesday night when we record. I don't remember the last time I've said it's Mike Lensing here with my co-host Jason Songel tonight.
Well,
There's been a lot of without my co-host Jason Songel
well,
tonight. So good to
Wednesday,
have you back, man.
the Wednesday night episodes are hard for me right now. They're just hard.
I
I think
know. That's
I
what I'm
think
saying. It's been a
I think
while though.
in December I'm gonna December I might be back on the Wednesday night episodes at least for December and the beginning of January because I'm gonna break in my classes. So that's what's gonna propel me back into being. The other problem is my kids don't go to bed until 9:30 now, so I'm gonna 9 to 9:30. So I'm in that window of time, and it's not like I can just tell my kids go up to their room. It's or go do something. But we'll get there. We'll get there. But Mike, I'm back on the NBA episodes. This is where I shine. I don't do most talking on the interview episodes, anyways, unless we're with bros. So I feel I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it, and we're gonna go today. I feel like I've got a lot to say since I missed last week's episode, Mike.
All right, good.
Okay,
Fantastic. All right, we're gonna let you carry. We're gonna let you carry this episode tonight. That's
okay.
that's
Well,
gonna be
we'll
the
see.
key.
We'll see who ends up talking more because I know how much you like to talk, which is fine. It's the good thing. It's good. So I think the way that last week Mike talked about his 6-pack of things that he's finding interesting in the first week of the NBA season, I'm going to take that and I'm going to say my pieces for the 2 week, and some of the things are going to overlap and some of the things are not. Some of the things are going to be like specific game related. I want to talk a little bit about the different presentations in the networks, at least what I've taken from the different presentations on the networks. I know Mike maybe hasn't watched as much of the other broadcasts as I have. I will say this much as we're diving into this. I feel like despite everything that's going on in my life and how much more, I feel like I watched more NBA this year at the first 2 weeks of the season than I had previously. I don't know if it's because okay, so the NBC stuff, I want to see the Jordan stuff. Okay, let me be honest. I want to see the Jordan stuff, which, by the way, you hit the nail on the head when you said he just recorded it in one day. You said that when we talked about it. He sat and recorded it in one day. They didn't even go through the charade of him putting on a different shirt. Nope, just he's gonna rock the same thing the whole time. Listen, mad props. I don't know that everything that I say I completely believe him. Like the whole oh, I'm not doing this for money. Well, then what are you doing it for? Come on now, give me a break. You got some money coming in, anyways. But when I'm looking at the overall arching aspect, I think the way that NBC and Peacock have upped the game, I think they've done a really good job with the presentation. I don't know, like last Monday night, for example, when they were recording, the Cavs were playing, they did the first game where only the play-by-play guy was sitting at the desk, and the other two guys were behind the benches, and they were broadcasting from behind the benches. So they got, you normally have sideline reporters saying, "Oh, so and so said this during the timeout." These guys are literally hearing as the game is going on, and they're talking about it. And I thought that was really cool to hear. It was Austin Rivers, and I can't remember who the other guy was. And Austin Rivers, of course, has a relationship with so many of these guys. I think he probably got to talk to them and things like that. I thought it was really cool. Amazon Prime, what they're doing with the Friday coverage, oh my gosh, you get the two heat. It was Bam and who was the other person? It was Bam and someone else talking about their offensive. Norm Powell. And they're sitting there explaining their offensive sets and explaining this is how we space floor, and they're using ESPN better get their crap together, because I'm telling you, these guys are blowing them out of the water right now. And I want to be clear, when ESPN has Kenny and Shaq, they're still good. They have not messed with the formula. But now I don't know, I can't remember if I sent you the schedule with what they're doing with the NBA, and they're going one more time, and then they're not until Christmas Day. Are you joking me? What are we doing here? I know you want to save them and you want to have them because obviously they haven't gone to the finals and they probably have a contractual number of days. But listen, I was sitting here thinking, I'm a big Monday Night Football. I don't watch the Monday Night Football traditional telecast, I normally am watching the Manning cast, right? So last night Charles Barkley is on the Manning cast because I like to hear what Peyton Manning and Eli have, and some of it is canned and goofy and whatever. But like when they're talking about the actual game and they're talking about things, like they're way more like I love Troy Aikman and I love like Joe Buck on the NFL stuff, not on baseball stuff, but on NFL stuff, I like the two of them. I think they're really good. But when I can listen to the Mannings talk and like break down, like this is what I see, and then I think that it's way more interesting. Well, what if we just said, "Hey, NBA," it's weird to call them NBA on TNT Crew on ESPN. Let's get their version of the Manning cast. Like, let's get the four of them, and they're watching the game, and like we're watching the game and they're off to the side on the screen just like they do in the Manning cast, and have them like talk through the game and like what, like I think that would be an interesting, compelling use of like and the ESPN already has everything in structure in place because they do it for the Manning cast. McAfee's does it for the college football playoff. Like they could do this, they could structure it, and I think it would be really cool to hear. Like I want to hear Shaq, Kenny, and Charles. First of all, you never know what's going to come out of their mouth if they're doing this. Like, I think it would be super interesting. And I also think, like, they're the foremost authorities on, like, I think a lot of the things. And, like, you know, Kenny running to the board and stuff. You could see them in a timeout or, like just breaking down the plays right after they happen, as opposed to, oh, here's Kenny running to the board, you know, at halftime to talk about two plays that happened in the first quarter that I don't even remember happened. What if you could do that in real time? I think ESPN, you got to do something. And this, I'm just throwing this idea out there. I'm not going to charge a copyright fee. I'm not going to tell you have to pay me. Just like try to, you got to switch it up, because what Prime and what NBC are doing is great. I think what like this whole NBC coast is coasting, like tonight's games, this first game started at 8 o'clock, the second game starts at 11. So if you're on the West Coast, it's starting at 8 o'clock, so it's in their prime time window. And people like me who have Peacock, I'm going to give a game at 11 o'clock tonight. Like that's awesome. Like I know that means that it's not ending until 1:30, and there's a zero some chance that I'll probably still be awake to watch it, but I just think that's a really unique and different idea. And instead of, oh, we're going to have a game and then we're going to have the studio show in between. And I don't know, is Jordan talking at halftime or in between games tonight again? Is tonight the night that he talks? Because I feel like last week was him talking about load management. I feel like we're due. Maybe we're going to get a Jordan sketch here in a second, and he's going to talk about, I don't know, who knows what he's going to talk about this time. I didn't see any teasers or anything because I haven't been like, I just have it on the background tonight, so I haven't heard them listen. But I just think what NBC and Prime is doing is fantastic, and I hope that ESPN takes this as a challenge to, oh, we got to up our game a little bit, and fix some things. But yeah, that's my overall take. So just on the presentation, and I just feel like I don't know if you feel this way, I just feel like there's more visibility and like ease for me to watch games than there was before. And I don't know if that's I mean, obviously I have a Prime and I have Peacock, so I'm in a situation where I have all the things that this is on, but I just feel like, and I just feel like there's more teams involved. I don't feel like every single game is, oh, you know, we are getting a lot of Lakers, we are getting a lot of Thunder, but like tonight, Orlando, Atlanta. I mean, last year, did we see an Orlando Atlanta game? Whether, like, I'm just saying, did we see that? We didn't. I feel like this is giving them the opportunity to have more oversight and coverage of different teams, and I'm enjoying it so far. Now, will I still be enjoying having the access to basketball when we get to the doldrums in March? And it's like, okay, I'm done watching the, you know, I'm not that I've watched any Brooklyn Nets other than the one game, like Brooklyn Nets, like, but I just think that this is interesting. I like what they're doing. And I think that if this is the first year that that NBC and Prime are doing this, that it's only going to get better from here. So there is my 7 to 8 minute rant about the presentation of the NBA right now. I'm like, what are your thoughts on the way that the NBA is presenting? And I don't know how much you've been watching the other stuff in comparison, so I'll let you take it away.
First of all, I'm going to recommend that you do not watch any more Brooklyn Nets for the remainder of the season. I feel very, very confident and happy in my selection that the Brooklyn Nets are. I have Brooklyn Nets losses. I took that with I believe somewhere around the ninth or 10th pick. I'm feeling pretty good about that draft pick in the wins and losses pool. So that's point number one. I think the second point when it comes to the broadcasts, what I like about him is just the fact that you're getting some variety, right? Each network is approaching it in a slightly different way. And obviously, we have more people now that are involved in both the studio shows and as the prime announcing teams. So just getting some new blood and getting to hear some different perspectives and just watch the way the different networks are approaching covering the game, both pregame, postgame, halftime, in-game. I think all that is a positive. I think the one thing when it comes to ESPN's coverage that people have always complained about, right? And it was sort of juxtaposed against the Inside the NBA show was that ESPN kind of gave each of the 4 or 5 or 6 or however many people they were going to have on their pregame or halftime, each one of those people got like 15 seconds to be able to create a soundbite, and that was it. And so there was no real discussion, there was no real meat to the conversation, which is what people always liked about Inside the NBA, beyond just the personalities, obviously, of the 4 guys that are involved in that show. But they were also given some space to be able to show their personality and then to be able to have those personalities interact. And I think that was what was lacking in ESPN's coverage. And I think that that's what all the networks have to continue to make sure that they do is allow the people that they have on the show enough time to be able to express their opinion, to be able to explain to the viewer what they're seeing. I guess my big thing whenever I think about announcing, like there are some guys that I like listening to more on a game, but to me it's more about when you have somebody who's bad or somebody that you don't like listening to, that to me always detracts from the listening experience as opposed to I know guys that are really good or that have a feel for, right, that big game sort of just feel that when you hear a person's voice, you think, "Oh, this is a big game." Mike Breen obviously has been associated with the NBA championship and the finals for the last whatever 10, 12 years. At one point, Bob Costas, Marv Albert, those were the names, right? NBA on NBC back in the heyday of Jordan and the Bulls. Those were the 2 names that 2 voices. When you heard those 2 guys, you knew it was gonna be a big game, and so there's a little bit of nostalgia when it comes to the NBC coverage, obviously, because of Round Ball Rock and just bringing back Costas and just the way that the game is being presented takes me back to a time when I was younger and watching Jordan and just everything that goes along with that. And so I guess from my perspective, I'm fine with the different networks and being able to find games. I do agree with you that it feels like you're getting a variety of coverage and you're seeing this team or that team or maybe teams that you didn't see before. I like having more guys involved that can share their opinion. You get a feel for how each of those different crews from the different networks are sharing their thoughts, their opinions. And as I said earlier, each network is kind of approaching it in a different way. I think your idea of the Manning cast for basketball with the TNT inside the NBA crew would be fun. Now, I don't know if you have to pay those guys more to be able to be on air for the entirety of a game as opposed to the limited amount of time they're doing it before, after, and during halftime. But certainly, I think that could be entertaining.
I mean, Charles Barkley,
Whether or
like
not I would,
Charles Barkley did basically the whole, you know, that the last 3 minutes of the third quarter and the whole fourth quarter last night for the NFL game. Which, by the way, he was after Baker, buddy. He
yeah,
was after your buddy. He was after your buddy, your brosum, Baker Mayfield. It was good. It was good stuff. Just so you know,
he
it
was
was good
after him in a
stuff.
good way or after him in a bad way.
Was that Baker talked in the third quarter, like he was on the Manning cast in the third quarter, and then Charles Barkley came on after Baker Mayfield, and Baker got some good ribs in at Peyton because of Oklahoma beating Tennessee this past weekend. It was pretty good. It was good stuff. It was good. It was good stuff. I enjoy Baker though. So, anyways, sorry.
No, I get it. So look, there's a certain demographic of people that want that type of a broadcast, right? And then there's other people that want their traditional old school play by play, color man, that kind of thing. So would it be entertaining to listen to the inside the NBA guys sitting around the desk and watching the game and just kind of commenting back and forth? Yeah, I think that would be entertaining. Would I watch it and be glued to my screen in order to watch that? I'm not 100% sure that's the case, but I think experimenting with different formats and different ideas, that's something that every league should be trying this stuff, right? And every broadcast should be trying it because, like, again, when you think about just where all these sports are from a standpoint of who's watching them, like, are young people consuming games in the same way that you consume games when you were a kid, or certainly the way I consumed games when I was a kid, sitting down and watching a game from start to finish. I don't know how many people there are that are really actually doing that. I think it's probably much less than it's ever been in the history of televised sports. And so to try to mix it up again and do things, get different personalities, I think are all positives. And I'm all for innovation and trying different stuff. And so far to this point, I like all the different broadcasts and just being able to see it from a different perspective that each one of the networks is bringing to the games that they're covering. So I'm good with it so far. Again, I like the NBA on NBC just because there's a little bit of a nostalgia piece for me of going back to sort of the formative time of when I was not when I became an NBA fan, but sort of again during the peak of the Jordan Bulls. There's an association there that for me evokes positive feelings anyway.
Listen, and I said it last time I was on the podcast 2 weeks ago before you kicked me off for 2 weeks. I'm just kidding. Tirico. I mean, Tirico is just so good. Like I could listen to
Yeah.
Tirico talk. It is a little shell shock still not hearing Chris Collinsworth talk about things with him and go like all those noises that he does. But it's nice. It basically balances out with Reggie Miller doing the same version of those things. But Tirico's just so good at everything he does. It seems seemingly so seamless that it's like he hasn't not called a basketball game for 8 years or whatever. I think it was 2016 the last time he called a basketball game before this year. So it's just great. All right, so that's the broadcast. So let's dig into the NBA. I guess we spent enough time talking about the broadcast so far. I'm going to start with the Cavs just because I want to say a few things. I have some concerns, Mike. I have some concerns with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I'm not sounding the alarm here. I'm not sounding the alarm, but I am just concerned that, like, I'm thinking back to the beginning of last year and how much the ball was jumping and moving and all these things, and I understand that Darius Garland is supposedly going to be making his debut tomorrow. I don't know if you saw that he's going to play tomorrow, probably. They will see, but he participated in all of practice today. Jared Allen is seemingly going to play through his injury with a splint on his finger. Okay. My concern is the ball movement on the offensive end has not looked good. Very toilet bowl-y, very ball stoppy, not great. And we're getting destroyed on the rebounds. I think that's probably my bigger red flag when you've got a 7'1" guy and a guy who was averaging a double-double all year last year. It's concerning to me that the last game, Thomas Bryant had to come in and like anchor the ship for a while because we weren't getting rebounds. And I know once again that Jared Allen was not playing in that game. I just have concerns, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not selling the red flag, and I don't like the alarm saying that this season, the fact that we on Friday last week lost in the NBA Cup, and Donovan Mitchell had hamstring tightness and didn't play, and I'm sure if it was a playoff game he would have played. Jared Allen was out. I just, something to me is off. And, I said it on the preview pod when I didn't pick them that I felt like the Knicks were going to have a better record. And then here we are, and we're like, I think 5th in the conference right now, which once again, it's early and we're talking like 1 or 2 games. And I don't think there's any way that the Bulls are going to continue to win, although they are competent. I just have concerns, and I'm not completely loving what I see. We lost a game that we should have won. And I just think there's some things that if you're a Cavaliers fan, things to watch and keep an eye on, because the main thing is this: we can't make any changes. Like, there's nothing that the taxing, the aprons, there's nothing coming to save us. There's nothing coming to change anything this year. So we are who we are. We don't really have any flexibility that I know of. At least that's what I've read and heard. So I think it's really important. It's going to be an important, like, getting DG back into the flow of things, making sure Jared Allen's good, and then obviously Strus is going to come back at some point. Like, what that's going to look like, who knows? But I just think, the 3-point shooting is concerning. The rebounding is concerning. The defense has been concerning at times. And I want to be clear here. I think Mobley's, people were talking about how Mobley, whatever, I saw someone say, whatever they told Mobley this offseason, they should just tell him to ignore what they told him. I don't think he's looked bad. Oh, you're shaking your head at me right now? This is you shaking your head. You don't believe anything that I'm saying? You don't have concerns? Okay, Mike, go ahead. Retort. Argue with me.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, Kobe Bryant shaking your hand. Oh, soft. Okay, I thought you were shaking your head. I didn't see the word soft, because it says cookie policy. You got to click the agree to the cookie policy. I didn't see the word soft, Mike, because it's blocked by the.
You don't know that clip. You don't know that clip though.
Well, I didn't. I only saw him shaking his head originally. Sorry. That's your concern at the Cavs.
I thought they're soft, man. I mean, I don't know. I don't know anywhere. I don't know any other way to describe it. You can talk about all the other different things that you want to talk about, and it's just, to me, it still comes down to that, right? I just think when you're talking about the rebounding, soft. You're talking about big plays and big moments. You're talking about who on this team, who's the tough guy? And I don't mean tough guy like fighting people and being
Thomas Bryant,
just
Mike.
super
That's
physical.
The problem. Thomas Bryant is the tough guy. He's the tough guy, and he's not that tough.
Come on.
Well, he's the tough guy comparatively.
Okay. All right. He's the tough guy. I just don't know. I just don't know who's the tough guy. I just don't see. I don't see it. I just don't see the mental toughness that I would want to see from this team. And it's been the problem for the last.
You're asking me to pick you're asking me to pick the tough guy of the Cavs. Like, like you were saying, of the 6 main Mickey characters, who's the toughest of the 6 main Mickey characters? There's no one tough. Okay, I'm picking Thomas Bryant because there's no one else left. Like, I just don't think they're a very tough team physically or mentally. I just don't. I think they're very, very good when they're ahead. I think they're very, very good from a skill standpoint. And are they good when they're ahead, though, Mike? Are they good when they're ahead? Because there's been 2 or 3 games where we've been up 27, and then we decide that we're not going to play basketball anymore.
Maybe are we good when we're ahead? I mean, I don't think you can fairly judge. Yeah, I don't think you can fairly judge this team and what we've seen so far. Like you talked about ball movement, Darius Garland being gone is definitely an issue there. There's no question about it. I think Donovan Mitchell has always been a guy that, not necessarily ball stoppy, but he's improved over his course of time with the Cavs in terms of moving the ball and being willing to give the ball up and move and get the ball back. But he's still, ultimately, Donovan Mitchell's best skill is ball in his hands, go get us a bucket, right? I mean, that's the thing that he's best at. And I do think the other thing when it comes to ball movement is there's been a lot of force feeding Evan Mobley reps with the ball in his hands. And I think long term, that's probably a good thing, right? Because I continue to say it. We've said it since Mobley was drafted that I don't think this team can win the title if Evan Mobley is not their best player. right now, I would say Evan Mobley is still not their best player. He's been fine to this point of the season. He hasn't taken an extraordinary leap beyond what we saw from him last year. Now, granted, there's not that far to leap. Second team All NBA last year. So we're basically asking him, like we talked about in our preview, we're asking Evan Mobley to become Giannis light. And I don't even know if that's possible for Evan Mobley, but he's been sort of the same player that he was last year. And there are still things that you want him to work on, that you want him to be better at. He's got to tighten up the handle if he's going to be handling the ball and getting that playmaking responsibility. He's got to be able to go up through people in the paint. There's a lot of times where he'll catch the ball and there'll be a guy in front of him or a guy next to him, and he ends up kind of getting stuck, doesn't explode up, and then pivots around 4 times and has to kick it back out to somebody for a three. And so this team, the ball handling, I'm sorry, the ball movement that you talked about, I think when you get Garland back, I think that solves a little bit of that because Garland's going to move the ball, and Garland's clearly the best passer on this team by far. And so you put him back in there, and now I think suddenly the offense starts moving again. But I just continue to have concerns that this team's mental makeup and this team's toughness in big moments, this team's ability to get proverbially punched in the mouth and come back from that under tough circumstances. I'm just still not convinced that that's what this team is. And I don't know how you change that other than you're just so much better than the other team that that little 3% or 5% of toughness that might be needed when your team is even with somebody else. I just, man, it's concerning because I feel like I'm seeing the same thing that we've seen over the last 3 seasons, just in terms of I don't trust that in big tough moments that everybody on this team is along for the ride. And I guess it remains to be seen. One thing, this is just a aside that has nothing to do with this, but I was just looking at the Cavs stats as we were talking, and if the stats on ESPN are correct, through 6 games, Donovan Mitchell has 0 offensive rebounds in 6 games. Not that we need him crashing the offensive boards all the time, but having
Well, he
zero
didn't play one
offensive
of those games,
rebounds.
Mike. Let's be fair. Let's be fair. He didn't play one of those
Okay,
games.
okay, that's fine. 5. No, I'm saying I got him 6. He's played 6 games and he has
Oh, of
zero
the 7.
offensive
Yeah.
rebounds. That's interesting. Yes, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Again, not
Yeah.
that Donovan
So I
Mitchell's
don't know.
offensive rebounding is a key indicator for the Cavs' toughness or lack thereof, but I don't know. There's just I don't I don't like I don't like what I'm seeing because it reminds me too much of what I've seen over the last couple years in playoff settings. And we've got 3
The
years of playoff
definition of
evidence that
insanity is
says,
doing the same. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, right?
I agree. I agree.
So
I don't know. Maybe there's a move to be made at some point. Maybe there is. I just don't know what. I don't think you can give up Darius Garland because I think you're going to get back 50 cents on the dollar for Darius just because uh, you're going to get back players who aren't as talented as him. And so that would concern me. I think if you trade away Jared Allen, now you're making Evan Mobley your center, which I think is fine. That's probably the move. But again, I don't know what kind of player archetype I'd be looking to replace Jared Allen with. I'm not sure who I'd want to target or what I would want to target if I was trading Jared Allen. And I guess it depends on how much faith you have in the Craig Porter Jr., Dean Wade, Tyrese Proctor, Lonzo quartet to be that big guard slash small forward. Jalen Tyson, throw him in there. How much of those, which of those 5 guys can you trust in a playoff series to do the tough things, to make the big shot when the big shot is needed, to get a stop on defense when you need it, to go in there and be the guy from the wing that's crashing, getting a big rebound? I don't know. I don't know which of those guys I trust yet.
All right, let's play a game we haven't played yet this year. How are they going to do this week? All right, you ready? Tomorrow they play the 76ers.
I'm ready.
The 76ers playing it. They're playing the 76ers tomorrow night. The 76ers on a back-to-back. The Sixers blew a 24-point lead in the fourth quarter of the Chicago Bulls tonight. No Embiid tomorrow night because he's not playing back-to-backs and he played tonight. The Cavs have got to win this game, right? We've got to win this game.
Yes. Garland, if
Okay.
Garland's back too, that helps. So, yeah.
Okay. Friday, NBA Cup group play resumes, and we play the Washington Wizards. That's a win.
Should be a win.
Okay. Saturday night, probably the game of the season so far. Now, we play the Bulls, and by the game of the season, probably other than the Knicks game, the most important game we've played so far. Okay? Just because the Bulls have been playing well. But the Bulls are also playing on a back-to-back. The Bulls have a much tougher test the night before. They're playing the Bucks the night before in Milwaukee, and then they have to travel to Cleveland. The Cavs are playing in Washington, which theoretically we should be able to rest our starters in the fourth quarter if they play the way that we're supposed to play. Cavs hosting the Bulls. What are you giving it? You taking the Cavs or you taking the Bulls?
I'll take a Cavs win there.
Yeah, okay. And I'm ready to chalk the Monday night game up to a loss because we're going to Miami, Mike. And we know how we play when we play in Miami. And
back-to-back games Monday and Wednesday. Well, not back-to-back, but Monday, Wednesday in Miami. So.
Oh, God. Oh, they're splitting those two games. You ready to? Are we willing to say that we're going to win one, lose one? We're going to say win one, lose one.
That's definitely a win. That's definitely a win one, lose one situation for sure.
If they lose Monday, I'm concerned that we lose both because they're going to have an off day in Miami. That's bad news.
That's a nice perk from Adam Silver and the NBA schedulers right there. Doing the Cavs a solid three full days in Miami. You gotta like it.
To be fair though, the next two games after that are the Raptors and the Raptors and then
Grizzlies at home.
The Grizzlies. Yeah. So, anyways, all right. So there we go. We had our games. So I think we're done with the Cavs. We can move on to my next topic. Does that sound good? Does that sound great?
Yep.
MVP players. You talked about MVP players playing like potential MVPs. Luka Doncic is just insane, and like I don't know, man. When LeBron comes back, it's going to be a whole lot of interesting going on. I'm interested to see what that dynamic looks like. He's out of his mind. I think he's played through 4 games. He had 165 points. I think I saw that stat. I don't know what he's at now. He sat out the games. The Lakers continuing to win.
41.3. He's averaging 41.3 points a game.
Yeah. So just a whole lot of nonsense. Austin Reeves also playing out of his mind. Are the Los Angeles Lakers a title contender? Next on ESPN, next on First Take, next on some hot topic issue. Listen, you picked them. You picked them in the wins pool. That was a good choice. They're going to win a lot of games in the regular season, Mike. They're going to continue to win a lot of games in the regular season. That was a good pick by you, Mike. I give you a positive compliment. You normally do not pick the Los Angeles Lakers, and you did this year. They're just playing really well, but most importantly, if Luka's healthy, they're going to be great. They're going to be awesome. Okay, the next player, Wemby. Wemby has been insane. Like you mentioned it 2 weeks ago after the first, we have to decide whether are we watching on TikTok or what are we watching? Is it real or is it AI? How can the 7'4" guy do that? Like the video of him bending over and he's literally the height of the referee. That's ridiculous. It's just insane. And what he's doing, putting the ball behind his back, just going to the basket. And I know the Phoenix Suns somehow held him to 9 points, and I don't know how they did it because the Phoenix Suns are terrible. They are so bad. How did they stop Wemby? Maybe Wemby just went in and just had an off day, whatever. Like, I think the big thing to watch with him is stay healthy. That's the big thing. Can he stay healthy? Will he stay healthy? That's the big thing with him. But he's having a great year. Shea, the Thunder, 7-0 coming into tonight. Their game is about to start against the Los Angeles Clippers. Like, he's playing great. The whole team is playing great. Are the Thunder going to? When do they lose? When is the Thunder's first loss? If they don't lose tonight, when are they losing? Because I feel like I read somewhere that their schedule after tonight is super easy. Let's look. So today is the 4th. They play the Thunder. They don't play anyone tomorrow. They don't play Thursday. Friday, the Thunder. They play the Kings. Oh, that's a win. The Kings, they're going to win that game.
They got Portland Wednesday. They're at Portland, at Sacramento, at Memphis.
Okay, those are all wins. Okay, go ahead. Next.
And they're home for Golden State and home for the Lakers.
Okay, they might lose
Charlotte
one of those games.
And at New Orleans.
So if they get through those games, they're going to get. If they get through the Golden State Lakers games, they're going to get through the next two. I mean, I'm just like, this team. I doubted that they were going to want to win and continue to win at such a high clip, but they're just going about their business, and not to mention that those first two games they went to double overtime, like, so they had to eke those ones out. But they're playing so well, and Shea's playing so well. You know, I sent you that tweet that I thought was hilarious. Like, his house got robbed, and I said, and the cops came in, and Shea was laying on the ground, and they got 2 fouls and more money or something, whatever that was. Listen, the bottom line is this: if he plays like that and they call it, what are you going to do? Like, he's doing what he can do to win the game. Like, those 3 guys are just, between Shea, Wemby, and Luka, they're great. And I'm not even talking, we haven't even mentioned Jokic yet. Like, Jokic is playing well too. It's just like, all these guys are just playing so well. And, you know, my pick of Anthony Edwards for the MVP, I think I can already ship that to the moon, because it's not happening.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Done.
That's
done.
That is dusted. That is dusted and done. And you know what? It is what it is. You know, I will gladly admit that I'm wrong, because it's okay to be wrong. But the bottom line is this: all these guys are playing well. Let's hope that they continue to play well and that they're healthy. You know, your MVP in your heart, Zion Williamson, your MVP in your heart, out for supposedly 6 to 10 days for a hamstring. That's not 6 to 10 days. This guy is not going to be back. I'm just telling you, it's going to be longer than 10 days. Let's just hope that they can avoid an injury like Zion. You know, yeah. So I'm just intrigued by the way they're playing. I feel like every night there's a new highlight. And I didn't even mention Giannis. Like, last night, Giannis' game winner. That game was crazy. I don't know if you caught any of it. That game was nuts. But man, it's just so much great play from the stars. And, you know, it's nice to see that they're all playing well. And once again, this goes back to the variety of the broadcasts, because we're seeing all these players. I feel like I've gotten to at least see them play 1 or 2 games for the most part, all these guys. Whereas, like, in years past, I feel like I would not have had the visibility in seeing all of these guys play. Like, the Spurs probably were on national TV like 4 times last year, 5 times, even with Wemby. And I know that Wemby got hurt, but, like, I feel like I've been able to see them all play and see, you know, even watching Houston play. I've seen Houston play a few times. You know, when I think about, like, the prime players or the prime teams, I don't think there's any team I haven't had the opportunity to watch yet that I want to watch. I want to watch the Portland Trailblazers? No. A lot of people aren't watching the Trailblazers right now, okay? I want to watch the Washington Wizards. No, I will watch them in a few days when the Cavs are playing.
Trailblazers, man. The Blazers are 4-3, man. Why you want to dig on the Trailblazers? Come on, man.
Well, listen, they're 4-3. They're maybe I'm mistaken, but I mean, I can't tell you one thing that's happened with the Portland Trailblazers other than a betting scandal. So, I don't know. I'm not invested in Portland apparently, but you will see what happens. I just think, but like I said, I'm seeing all these players and all these teams play at such a high level, and it's awesome to see that these guys are just doing their thing, and hopefully it continues. And yeah, so that's where I'm at with those MVP players. I'll let you can jump in with whatever you want to add to that, like my rant. I'm really ranting though tonight.
Here's all
I'm really ranting tonight. So
you are. You're on a roll. It's good. I'm gonna let you stay on a roll. I'm gonna very briefly just discuss the points that you made. So you went through your top 3 guys. So Luka, Wemby, and Shea, and then you just casually mentioned Jokic and Giannis. So, and you're not wrong at all by any means with the first 3 guys that you listed, and not that that's your first 3 voting order or whatever, but the 2 guys that you didn't mention, here are their statistics. So Nikola Jokic currently averaging 23 points a game, 13 rebounds, and 11.5 assists. I believe as of yesterday, he was leading the league in both rebounding and assists. So didn't get a mention in your top 3. And then Giannis, who was, I believe, your 5th mention, he's currently averaging, although tonight he was down a little bit. I think he only had 22 and 7. So these averages are going to go down because they don't include tonight's game. But going into tonight, he was averaging 34, 13, and 7. 34, 13, and 7. That is just a ridiculous stat line. And it backs up what you said and what I said last week on the pod, that all of your quote MVP front runners heading into the season are all having unbelievable years.
Sabonis is
and
leading the league in rebounding right now. Mike Sabonis is leading the league in rebounding now. He's at 14.2
okay, well, there you go.
14 point, and Jokic is 3rd. Wemby's 2nd.
Okay. So, and maybe it was total rebounds or total assists based on games played. I don't know. But anyway, my point is that Jokic is averaging a 23, 13, and 11.5 as a triple double as a center, and just doing, again, Jokic things that are just insane. And then you look at every one of those guys' teams, right? And the success that they're having. The Spurs are 5-1. The Lakers are 5-2. The Nuggets are 4-2. The Thunder, as you said, are 7-0. The Bucks are 6-3 now. Is that right? No, they're 5-3. Sorry, the Bucks are 5-3. So all these teams are having success with their MVPs playing out of their minds in the first part of the season. If you had to conduct a vote right now for MVP, it's literally, I don't know how
you're splitting hairs. You're splitting hairs.
Correct. And obviously it's going to play out over the course of the season, and things are going to change and things are going to happen. But it's just, I mean, it's ridiculous when you look at the statistics that those 5 guys are currently putting up. And you can find other guys that are having crazy statistics. I mean, right now, Austin Reeves is averaging 31 and like 11 assists, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe 9 assists. It's crazy what we're seeing statistically.
31.
So,
Austin Reeves averaging
right.
31.30. Austin Reeves 31.1 and 9.3 assists. Mike, I'm looking at the league leader stuff just because you brought it up and I wanted to look. Okay, so do you want to guess who is leading the league in field goal percentage right now? It's a guy that I never heard of until I just looked at his name. It's a guy I've never heard of until I looked at his name.
Okay, well
just
then
now.
I'm not even going to attempt it.
He's also second in the league.
Ryan Kalkbrenner.
It is Kalkbrenner.
It's Kalkbrenner.
It is Kalkbrenner.
Right? You know why I know that? Because I heard he was 27 for 30 at one point. I heard that on a broadcast. Somebody was talking about that he was 27 for 30.
Okay, so he's leading the league in field goal percentage. He's shooting 83% from the field. He's second in the league in blocks per game. He's He's 2.4 blocks per game, only behind Wemby. Wemby's doubled him. He's in second place. Wemby's at 4.7 blocks per game. So yeah, kind of crazy. Anyways,
Do you remember we were making fun of the Hornets? We were making fun of their center rotation.
I believe you were making fun of. I believe you were making fun of their rotation because I said, I'm pretty sure I picked the over in them because I just felt like they were going to win. Maybe I didn't.
I'm pretty sure when we were reading it, neither one of us had ever heard of Kalkbrenner. So when we were reading through, we're like, all right, who's this guy? So kudos to Kalkbrenner getting it done.
Do you know what college he played at?
As soon as you tell me, I'm going to know. Don't tell me. Give me 1 second to guess.
Oh, you know this college very well.
I heard this, but go ahead, tell me.
Creighton Blue Jays.
There you go.
All right. We ready to move on to my next topic?
Yes.
Or do you want anything else? Anything else MVP wise? Are you good?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Joel Embiid. His knees are shot. Have you seen the video compilation of different highlights from him this season? Not jumping off the ground.
Yes, I have.
How many? Okay. I know we have our running joke, and I'm going to lose the Zion bet this year. I got it. It's over. Legitimately, how many more years is Embiid going to be in the league? If I set the over under at 4, Mike. If I set the over under at 4.
So what you're asking me if he gets another contract. You're asking me if he gets another contract. That's basically what you're asking me because I believe he has.
I believe he has 3 years left of his contract, right? I think 2 or 3.
I think so.
But if you give him 4, if you say in 4 years from now, I guess I shouldn't say 4 years from now because if he sits out a season, that doesn't count as a year played. Does he play 4 more seasons in the NBA after this one? And
I don't see how you can say yes based on what we've seen so far.
I'll quantify this too. Like playing 1 game in a season does not mean he played 4 more seasons in the NBA. I'm saying like having some sort of resemblance of playing like even if I set the bar at 30 games, can he average 30 games a season for the next 4 seasons, 120 games total? Could he do that? 30 or 40. So.
Like he could, but I would, if you're asking me to bet on that, I would bet the under on 120 games over the next 4 seasons.
Okay. All right. That's all I wanted to talk about with Joel Embiid. The Sixers are surprising. I guess I'll segue into my next portion will be the surprise teams. We've talked a little bit about Chicago's been doing well. We've got the Sixers doing well. Apparently, Portland's above 500. They have the same record as the Cavs, and I didn't know that. So, and that's sad considering I feel like I've watched more NBA than I, have in recent years, at least with time and stuff. But we look at the surprise teams.
Can I give you a quick quiz?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
All right. This player plays for the Portland Trailblazers. This is their stat line right now for the season. 7 games in. This player is averaging 24 points a game, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. They're shooting 49% from the floor, 38% from 3 on 6.5 attempts, and 82% from the free throw line. Who is this player?
Repeat it again. Just one more time.
You want the whole stat line? He's averaging 24 points a game.
How many points?
6.
Oh, 24 points a game. Well, I mean, I'm just trying to think of who is on the Portland Trailblazers, okay? I know Scoot's on that team, right?
Can I read you some names?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll give you multiple choice. I'm going to give you multiple choice, okay? Multiple choice. Ready?
Yeah.
Time Lord, Drew Holiday, Denny Avdia,
Oh,
Shaden
that's it.
Sharp.
It's got to be Denny Avia because you're only asking me because it's Denny Avia. Go ahead, Denny Avia. That's the answer.
Denny Avdia, 24 a game, man. 24 a game for Denny Avdia. He's killing it, man. Come on.
Okay.
Great trade for
You got
Portland, by
another
the way, to
quiz? You got another quiz?
get him away from the Wizards. Do I have another quiz?
You got,
I'm
you got
sure I
another
could
quiz
come
for
up
me?
with
I've
one.
another
Give me
one.
a second. While you're
I mean,
talking, I'll come up with the quizzes
okay.
since you're
Like
taking the
when we're
lead on
looking at
this episode.
surprise, when we're
What's
talking
next?
about surprise teams, when we're talking about surprise teams, so I look at Chicago, I look at Philly. I don't think Detroit's a surprise team because we knew that they were capable of winning. I think San Antonio, we didn't know that they were going to be 5-1 to start the season. I'm not saying they're like a surprise team yet. It's early in the year. The Lakers being 6-2, we've already talked about the Lakers. And then there's the other side of the spectrum, the disappointing teams. We've got Dallas. To me, is the most disappointing team out of all the bad teams. Indiana is also pretty bad, and I'm concerned because I have Indiana wins, and I don't think they're going to be a 500 team. That's going to hurt me in the long run here. Boston being 3-5, they're bad too. I think there's some teams that are surprisingly bad. You hinted that Brooklyn Nets are terrible. The Wizards are terrible. New Orleans is terrible, and they're going to continue to be terrible because Zion's out. Dallas is the most surprising. They're this bad. So yeah. All right, you got another quiz for me, Mike?
No, but I want to make a comment about some of those teams that you just talked about. Let's start with the
Go
Pelicans.
ahead, go for it.
The Pelicans are just a complete disaster. I would have to think that at some point here, very soon, that Willie Green is going to be out of a job in New Orleans,
Are they the
considering that
Cleveland
Joe
Browns of
Dumars,
the NBA right now?
they're close, man. It's bad. I mean, they've been completely and utterly mismanaged. We know about the trade to move up to number 13 to get Derek Queen, where they traded out their own first round draft pick, which that looks like a disaster. But people forget that last year during the NBA Finals, they traded with the Indiana Pacers to give back the Indiana Pacers draft pick in this coming draft in order to secure the Indiana Pacers draft pick, I believe, in last year's draft, which turned out to be number 23. And now they could have been sitting on their own number one draft pick this year, considering they're 0-6. Looks like it's a pretty good chance at getting up into the lottery. And then they could have had the Pacers number one pick this year, which Indiana currently sits at 1-6. That looks like it has a pretty good chance of landing in the lottery and having two shots in the lottery for this particular draft class looks pretty enticing. I mean, it seems like to this point that I don't know if you've looked at or seen much of what's been going on Twitter about the top three guys in the draft thus far in basically what has been college exhibitions and maybe one or two games for these teams. But the reviews for AJ DeBansta, Carlos Boozer's son, Cameron Boozer, and Darren Peterson have
Boozer's
been
son looks good. Boozer's
unbelievably.
son looks. Yeah.
All those guys. I mean, I've heard nothing but positives about all those guys. And I saw North Carolina's freshman in person yesterday, which I guess we could talk about my trip to Chapel Hill at the end of the pod. But I saw Caleb Wilson, who's a freshman at North Carolina out of Atlanta, and he had 4 dunks in the first 4 minutes of his debut as a college player. I think he ended up with 20, and he is just unbelievably explosive, and he's just a really, really good passer for his position and for his size. I think he probably is going to have to handle it better. And I didn't see a ton of outside shooting, but he is just a ridiculously bouncy athlete. I think he had 7 dunks in the game yesterday, and he looked good. And he's not even one of those top 3 guys. So I think this draft is going to be it's going to be loaded. And for the Pelicans to have mismanaged their to potentially losing out on 2 away their own first round pick to move up to number 13, but also trading with Indiana to pick up an extra pick in this past year's draft, and then in the process losing. Now, granted, the trade was made before Halliburton goes out, but why not just wait until the finals are over to make that trade? And you lose out on what potentially could have been the Pacers' number 1 pick, which looks like that is also headed for the NBA draft lottery. So the Pelicans are just a disaster in every way, shape, or form. Zion, I don't even know what to say anymore. I talked about it last week. I'm like, I actually had him on my sheet as I was making my notes for last week's episode. I had strong starts and I had Zion listed for strong starts because at the time he had played 2 games and I think he had missed 2. In the 2 games he played, he was averaging 27, 9, and 6 and 4 steals. So he was leading the league at that point in steals per game. So I'm like, hey, when Zion plays, same as always, historically great. And yet he really hasn't been able to drive winning in the 5 or 6 years since he's been there. And there obviously were some problems with Ja Morant over the weekend when he got suspended for the game for moping around against the
Is he
Lakers,
going
I
to be on the
believe.
team, Mike?
And
Is he going to be on the
I
team
don't know.
by
I have no
the new
idea.
year?
I have no idea. I just the thing with Ja is right. He's now reaching a level where he's disappointing not just with all the off the court stuff, but it's becoming disappointing what you're seeing from him on the court. He's no longer producing at an all NBA level, and he hasn't now for a couple of years, partly due to his lack of being on the court for various reasons, whether it's injury or suspension. But he certainly has not lived up to the promise that he showed in his first year or two. And we go back to, you and I have debated multiple times in this podcast, which one of those guys, if you did a redraft, which one would you take? And I think right now the answer would probably be, if you look at that draft,
Darius Garland.
Darius Garland was in that draft. I think you probably take, and not that Darius has been an Iron Man by any means. He's missed stretches of seasons and whatever. But I think if you were going to go back and you were going to pick a guy out of the top 10 of that draft, I think Darius Garland at number 5, probably would be the number 1 pick. And
Or
at some point, Zion and Ja no longer
Darius
become like
Garland or
these.
DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah,
DeAndre Hunter's on the conversation.
You'd pick Garland 100 times out of 100 over DeAndre Hunter. But at some point, we're getting very close to the moment where Zion and Ja just become. It's just never gonna happen. We're very, very close to that tipping point where you just have to think that it's just never gonna happen for these 2 guys for whatever reason. Ja's sort of self-inflicted, Zion, the combination of self-inflicted, not taking care of his body, but also just the bad luck of injury after injury after injury. And some of that's probably you can trace back to some of his habits and body size and all that kind of stuff. But at some point, potential just goes away, and you are what you are. And we're we're very close to it with those 2 guys. I'm not sure how much longer anybody, either inside or outside of their organizations, or people like us who are fans of one or the other of those guys, I don't think we can continue to just say, well, at some point it could happen. These guys are getting to the point where I think we can safely say it's probably never going to happen for either one of them. And it's sad because they were both early on in their career just unbelievably exciting and just fun players to watch. And that it's sad to see that go away.
Yeah, I agree, Mike. I agree. There was one more thing. That I wanted to talk about, and I can't quite wrap my head around what it was. I can't remember. I didn't write it down. I just figured it was gonna. Oh, the Boston Celtics. Do they have any shot of even doing anything, like in the sense that they have a chance to do something like in the play-in tournament and getting into the playoffs? Is this just the season's done and they just need to accept it that Jason Tatum's not coming back and rest him for a year and basically just have him shut down like a red-shirted year? Like the way that they've played, I mean, they're 3-5. Like, is there any shot for them? Or are you setting this season, setting it ablaze?
I mean, I guess you got to define shot. Is there any shot that they can get to that they can win a playoff series? I don't think so. But if you look at the standings where they are now, right? They are currently sitting at number 11, tied with Orlando at 3-5. Orlando, whatever, is in the 10th seed. Boston's in the 11. The teams below Boston, Charlotte, Indiana, Washington, and Brooklyn, I think we would both agree that those four teams are worse than the Boston Celtics right now. Maybe you could make a case for Charlotte if Brandon Miller gets healthy and they can kind of get it together. Maybe Charlotte could pass them. But I feel pretty confident that the four teams that are below them right now are going to stay below them in the standings. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So then above them in the standings, who are the teams that they could potentially pass? So right now in 10, are they going to pass the Orlando Magic? I would say no. Are they going to pass the Atlanta Hawks? I would say no. The Toronto Raptors? Maybe. The Cavs? No. The Knicks? No. The Heat? Maybe. The Bucks? No. The Pistons? No. The Sixers? Maybe. The Bulls? Maybe. I guess I wouldn't be stunned again. I don't think Boston makes the top 6. I could see them getting into the play-in, but I don't see how they win a playoff series with the roster that they have now. If somehow they climb into the 7 or 8 seed and they get Jason Tatum back, things break right, maybe they could win a playoff series, but in no way, shape, or form is this team a serious threat to get to even the Eastern Conference Finals. They don't have enough depth. They don't have enough size. Their front court is terrible. They're going to compete hard on any given night. Jaylen Brown could get you 40. Pritchard could hit 8 threes. Derek White could go off. They can do what they did against the Cavs on a given night and beat you. But I think over the course of a 7-game series, any good team, any good coach would find this team's flaws, and they wouldn't be able to win a playoff series against a good team. I don't think.
All right, fair enough. All right, I think I've spouted as much of my NBA stuff as I have. I guess do you want to give a 5-minute spiel about your trip to North Carolina, Mike, to wrap up the episode?
I want to do one thing before I do that. I do want to talk about that, but one thing. Cooper Flag, where are you on Flag?
Well, we talked a little earlier today. I think he's got potential, but I think you made the good point. I think you're playing him out of position. And I saw an interesting article. I guess Kyrie's been taking him under his wing, about his playing in the point guard position. And I was like, but I don't think that's where he belongs. When Kyrie's back, that's not where he should probably be. So, like, I don't know. I think that he's got the potential. I think he's had moments and flashes, but like when we're sitting here talking about all these players and what they're doing, like I haven't seen but one Cooper Flag that have wowed me. I did not watch the game was that Saturday night? That was in Mexico City. Was that Saturday night?
Yeah, I did not watch
one of the.
Well,
yeah, it had to be Saturday night because they went. But I nothing is standing out like in Cooper Flag. Like I can only think of one Cooper Flag highlight, and the Cooper Flag highlight I could think of is like the dunk that he almost had. It wasn't even an actual dunk. So, anyways, that's where I'm at.
Okay. I think with Flag, I said he's playing out of position, which isn't necessarily a bad thing in the long run. I think it probably will help his development as an overall player. I think ultimately he probably settles in as a guy who plays some point forward and is an excellent defender and can score from multiple places on the floor. All of our I guess thoughts about this have to be couched by the fact that he's 18 years old and probably should be a college freshman this year. So for him to be doing basically anything in the NBA, especially playing point guard out of position and trying to do that on a team that really doesn't have any other playmakers or spacing or anything else is tough. And it's shown to be tough. And I think we maybe underestimated a little bit just kind of what the growing pains would look like. I do think that the ceiling for him is still super, super high. And I think people have kind of gotten thrown off the scent just because it's been a tough start, not just for him, but for his team. But again, we said before the season started that it's going to be interesting to watch his career unfold and develop and whether or not he could be the first true white American superstar in basically forever. And it'll be fun to watch that development to see if he can become what everybody thought he was or everybody thinks he is, being a top five type player in the NBA at some point in his career. And I certainly think he has all the skills. It's just a matter of can he put that all together. And we're judging him here after 7 games playing out of position on a team that doesn't really fit his skill set perfectly. So I still think Cooper Flag is going to be fine, but he hasn't necessarily leaped off the page the way that you might have theoretically expected him to. But again, going back to LeBron's debut with the Cavs, I think they lost their first 5 games, and LeBron's shooting percentages and turnovers were pretty terrible. And but people saw the talent, and I think Cooper Flag is the same way. So, all right, my trip to North Carolina. Anybody who has listened to the podcast knows that ever since I've been a little kid, been a Carolina fan. Had the opportunity thanks to Coach John Schulman at Central Arkansas, who, again, if you listen to the pod, you hear John on here all the time on the roundtable episodes, and he's been on multiple times as a regular guest. And so, shout out to Coach Schulman, and thanks for hooking me up with some tickets to get me into the Dean Dome. But I took my wife and my daughter down to Chapel Hill for the game on Monday. We drove down Sunday night, partway to Virginia, and got up in the morning and drove to Chapel Hill. Walked around the campus a little bit, went to the Carolina Museum, got to the shoot around, and was lucky enough to get into the shoot around in the Dean Dome with Coach Schulman and the Central Arkansas Bears. Shout out to managers Kai and Hudson, who met us at the gym and walked us in through the underground tunnel into the arena. And there we got to hook up with Jeff Lebo, Tar Heel legend from Carlisle, Pennsylvania, who's currently an assistant coach for the Tar Heels. And as the Central Arkansas guys were getting warmed up and getting their shoes on, getting ready to go, Coach Lebo took us around through the locker room area and hallway and all the things that the Carolina program have at their disposal there in the Dean Dome, and just a bunch of Jordan memorabilia. They got a wall of shoes that they always take the recruits to, so you can see all the different versions of Jordans that the team has worn, obviously in Carolina blue. Got to see the locker room, got to see the player lounge, got to see the film room where where they watch film, got to see where they eat and feed the guys their meals during the day, and everything as you would expect at a program like North Carolina, just first class, just an incredible experience to be able to go back and go behind the scenes. Not something certainly that I was expecting when I went down there, maybe crossing my fingers, hoping that something like that would be able to take place. But again, shout out to Coach Lebo for walking us through there with some of the contingent of people that were there with Central Arkansas and Coach Schulman. So that was a lot of fun to be able to go through and just see that, and then walked around the campus at Chapel Hill and went to Franklin Street, went out to eat and went to the bookstore and bought a bunch of North Carolina gear, and then went to the game. And it went kind of, I think, as everyone expected, that North Carolina won. I think the final score was 94-52, but a lot of fun to watch the Tar Heels in the Dean Dome and just to be a part of it, to watch and to get to see something that you've watched on TV for a long time. We walked around campus. I was telling Jay before the podcast, got to go to Carmichael, what at the time was Carmichael Auditorium, now Carmichael Arena, where the women still play, and I think volleyball plays in there, maybe another sport or two. But back in the day, that's where Jordan and his Tar Heel teams played. And so to be able to go into that building too and see that, got to get out on the court in the Dean Dome, take up a few shots, got a couple pictures taken at center court. Just again, an unbelievable experience to be able to go and be a part of something that you've watched on TV for a long time. Got some cool photos, a really cool experience for my daughter who likes the University of North Carolina too. As we were walking around campus, she said, "Well, we'll be back here in a couple of years when I go to North Carolina." And we said, "Well, we'll have to wait and see." So, but anyway, it was really a good time, good road trip. Left on, I guess, Sunday evening, drove like 5 hours to Virginia, stayed overnight, got up the next morning, drove a couple more hours to Chapel Hill, got in there probably about, I would say, 11, parked the car not too far from the Dean Dome, a short little walk, and then, like I said, went to the Carolina Basketball Hall of Fame, got into the shoot around, got the executive tour of the locker room and all the facilities, and then got to watch the Central Arkansas guys go through their shoot around, and then walked to campus and did some shopping and ate some food, and then came back for the game. And it was just, again, a lot of fun, really cool to be there. Hopefully, it will not be my last time making that road trip down to Chapel Hill to watch a Carolina game. And Carolina's got Kansas on Friday night, so I'll probably be tuning in at least at some point. Cal's got a game on Friday night, but probably at least try to check a little bit of that game out. Now that I feel like I've watched the team in person at Carolina, I'll be able to keep an eye on them. And as I mentioned earlier, Caleb Wilson, who's a freshman at Carolina, to start your college career with he had 4 dunks before the first TV timeout. So it was a pretty impressive start for him as a freshman. And there was a couple of fans sitting by us that were like, "Yeah, he's only going to be here. We know he's only going to be here for we know he's only going to be here for a year." And again, he's as explosive of an athlete as I can remember seeing at the college level in a while. Just bouncy, gets up off the floor and quick and fast and high, and just was dunking everything. So again, just a really fun experience to go down and see a game in the Dean Dome in North Carolina. And I guess there's Coach Lebo was saying there's talk. They've done a study about whether or not they're going to build a new arena. He said he thinks if they do, it's going to be 7 to 10 years out, and they're considering moving it off campus, which he and the other members of the staff aren't necessarily super excited about. But when you go into the Dean Dome, still an incredible building, but no luxury boxes, no suites, all the things that generate revenue are not necessarily there. It's kind of an old school arena in that way, but definitely cool just to be in there and surrounded by all the Carolina blue. And then I guess the last thing that I'll say before I throw it back to you, Jay, is the team intro before the game starts, and they're going through and showing highlights of the current players and some of the past stuff. And you have a bunch of alumni coming on saying, "This is Carolina basketball. This is Carolina basketball," interspersed with highlights and music and whatever. And then the last guy, obviously, that comes on the screen is Michael Jordan saying, "This is Carolina basketball." Really a cool way to end it. And everywhere you go on campus, it's just Jordan, 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 Jordan. And I was telling my wife and telling my daughter, obviously Jordan's reached a level of worldwide fame that he probably doesn't think about it this way. But as I was walking around, I was just struck by. I remember there was an article in Sports Illustrated. There was a picture of Jordan in his dorm room. He had a CBS Sports banner hanging in his dorm room, and he actually, I think he was holding an umbrella for some reason in the picture, and that was when he was maybe a freshman or a sophomore, and they had done a big feature article on him. And I just think back to, you wonder if you could get inside that kid's head, 19, 20-year-old Michael Jordan there at North Carolina, and now you walk around that campus and everywhere you go, every single thing is just the Jumpman logo is everywhere, and Jordan is everywhere. In the locker room, in the hallways, there's just in the restaurants, there's just murals and pictures and references to and all this stuff of Jordan. And it's you wonder if, thinking back to when he was an 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid who comes to North Carolina, and if you'd have told him that, hey, 40 years from now, you're gonna, your picture, your symbol, your silhouette, your image is gonna be everywhere on this campus. It probably would have been pretty hard to wrap your head around it. And then the one other thing, Jay, that I didn't tell you about that was cool, in the Carolina Museum, they had letters that Dean Smith wrote to Jordan during the offseason. They were typed. And so it was funny to see, like, he had to like X stuff out and cross stuff out or type over things because there was no word processing or computers at that point. He was typing it on a typewriter, but letters to Jordan with the different things that he needed to work on, and Dean Smith's suggestions for stuff that he could get better at over the summer. So that was kind of cool just to see, again, hear Dean Smith say, you've really got to work on doing this. I think one of the things was you got to work on like tightening up your dribble when you're going through traffic, and I forget a couple of the other ones, but it was cool to see that stuff. And so, again, as a big Jordan fan, a big Carolina fan, definitely something that, a place that, if you like college basketball, definitely a place you should try to get to next time. Even though I'm not a Duke fan and I dislike Duke, next time I go to North Carolina, I want to try to go at a time when I could catch a North Carolina game and get to Cameron Indoor and see a Duke game there. So that's the next thing on the bucket list, is to do. Who knows? Maybe even get over to NC State. Although I've been to camp at NC State when I was a kid. So, but maybe get to a game at Reynolds Coliseum too. But since they're all so close. But anyway, it was a really, really fun experience, man. Really good.
Glad it was great for you. I wish I could have come, but school.
Yeah, you would
Man,
have
the
had a blast, man.
retirement life.
Would have been fun.
Living the dream, dude.
It's good. It's good,
Retirement
man.
for
It's
you
the
is
first.
you're living the dream, brother.
It's the first item on the bucket list that I was able to cross off a little over a month in. So I cannot complain. Cannot complain. So
Yeah.
anyway, all right. Well,
All
let's
right.
leave it
I don't have
there.
anything to add. Leave it there.
Okay.
Yeah. We're good.
All right.
We're good.
Perfect.
We're good to go.
All right. So we'll leave it there. Thanks to everyone for listening tonight. Really appreciate it. And we will catch you on our next episode.